to speak at any conference, he always brings in so much of new ideas on the net, on new technology, on any field concerning ICT, not only from India, from across the world. Thanks, Manthan. Thank you very much. This is something, and I'm so glad that Mr. Priya Sahu is here, because there's a very ticklish question that faces me on the subject. Maybe your ministry can help us clarify my doubts on that. Gaon Ke Awaaz is basically an initiative that we took because as journalists we felt that in cities we have an explosion of information. We have so much information, we don't need any more information. But Indian villages are information silent zones. They have no source of information. They're illiterate, there's no electricity, there's no way you can communicate with them despite India reaching such a stage. So we basically wanted to develop a new service, and we were inspired by the spread of mobiles in India and the fact that a lot of villagers that started buying mobile phones. Some families in the villages even have 2 phones, which is amazing, absolutely amazing to me. I'll give you a very quick sample, which is a 30-second pulse of what we do. Oh, okay. And then this is not going to work. This is what we, the girl you see on your screen is just about 16 or 17 years old. She's doing, please, one moment. Yes, I'm so sorry. It's just not my day. Anyway, I will not.
You can play from your mobile phone, sir. You can play from your mobile phone that audio, and then put the mic on.
Yeah, that's a good.
Now, basically, what this girl is just about 17 or 18 years old. She's studying in class 12 in a village in Uttar Pradesh. And she, after doing her studies, goes out, collect information from the village where she lives and then from neighboring villages. And there's one more reporter we have on staff. Together they collect information, record the news in the mobile phone that we have provided them, and then they transmit it to me for transmission back to the subscribers that we have. And the amazing thing, what really amazes me is the human psychology. Just as we are very familiar with Barkada in the Indian city, when this girl walks out of the village, it is amazing that people recognize her and say, that's Priya Gupta from Gaon Ke Awaaz. Can you believe it? The psychology is exactly the same. Now the objectives, what were the goals we had in mind when we set up the Gaon Ke Awaaz service? We wanted to basically redefine news. We have so much news that has come down to us from 200 years. The news model has remained the same. We wanted the news to be about villagers, of villagers, and by villagers. It had to be hyper-local and of interest to them. The second most important objective we thought was, since the villager can't read, he has no access to government information. All the great schemes that the government of India or the state governments draw up very often never reach the actual beneficiary. Maybe Mr. Priya Sahu can later elaborate on that. But what I found was most of these great government schemes, very good welfare schemes, end up in the block development office and never go forward beyond that. So we wanted some public information to be there on the news service, and at some point of time make it a two-way channel so that every villager actually becomes a stakeholder. It is not a one-to-many service, it becomes a many-to-many service. The challenges that we faced were 5, and the first one was illiteracy. Because the villagers are illiterate, so SMS was out. It could not possibly be a model on which the news was sent. So we decided to use voice calls that the villagers could understand easily. The second challenge was the phones that are being used in villages are basically very low-end phones. So obviously you cannot move MMS on app. So once again, MMS was not a solution, very much like SMS was not a solution. So we had to look at voice-based calls as a possible solution. The third and very important challenge, like any news service, was to make sure that the information is credible. It is not enough to generate information. It is very important to verify that it is factual and accurate. Because otherwise, there's no point in having a news service which is giving biased information. And we also try to decide the focus of news. And the focus, the feedback that came back was basically people wanted to know what's happening in the village, like births and deaths, pujas being held, village fairs being held, crime stories like a child being run over, education stories of when are the intermediate or high school practicals being held in the village school, and definitely public interest information like health camps, the eye camps were extremely of great interest. The local court that the STM holds, the date on which that local court is being held, that is the kind of information that was required, and we thought that's a great product mix. Our fourth challenge was, I spoke about credible information. So basically what we did was, though we have 2 reporters, but there's a senior elderly villager who also happens to be an ex-journalist. He verifies all the content before it is put out to be doubly sure that it is accurate. And the last biggest challenge was that the language that is spoken in our villages is not the Hindi we speak in Delhi. It is a dialect of Hindi, and in this particular village in Sitapur, it was Awadhi. So the news broadcast had to be in Awadhi. It could not have been in Hindi because the villager would not understand it so well. So the broadcast that you just heard Priya Gupta relate is in Awadhi. So we put together these challenges, and these are some of the milestones, how the service developed. We launched it about a year ago, and that December 6th last year was the first broadcast that was done. And we started with a closed group of 20 villagers because we were not sure how the villagers are going to receive the broadcast, would they like it, would they reject it. And we wanted to know, have their feedback as to whether the content met their requirements or not. In March, we raised the number of subscribers to 250. Even till March, it was free, and all our blocks in Uttar Pradesh, I'm told, have about 65 to 75 villages. So we have a spread of 250 subscribers spread across 50-odd villages who started getting the service. Then we tried to see whether commercial information can work on such a service. Will the village merchant be interested in advertising his goods on such a service? So we went to the village merchants, and to our huge surprise, they agreed to broadcast whatever new products they had in the stores. I have one example here, but I don't know whether it will work or not. And finally, we took the greatest leap forward, which we thought was the greatest challenge. The service was free till this point of time. It was completely being funded by Knight Foundation grants. We decided that to find out whether the villager is going to pay for the service or not. Only then we could decide whether it is of value to him or not. So on July 1st, 2010, we introduced a paid service. The reporter was told to go and collect subscription, and the subscription was fixed at ₹10 per user. To our surprise, our dropout rate was only about 2 or 3%. Of the 250 people who were getting it free for about 5 or 6 months, almost 240 to 45 subscribe. And every month is the same story. We have a dropout rate of about 2 or 3 people dropping out, but there are more people wanting to come in, and we have put a conscious cap because it's an academic project. We don't want to go beyond 250. We don't want to raise our costs beyond a certain point. So it clearly shows that there's a need for such a service in Indian villages. And the Indian villager is willing to pay for this service as long as this information is hyperlocal and relevant to him.